Taxman is targeting the rich for wealth tax. Just last month, National Treasury had revealed that SARS plans to target the wealthiest cause on par. And this is part of the Revenue Service's broader disclosure of wealth program. But to tell us more, I'm now joined by tax consulting South Africa's legal manager. That's Jashwin Baijoo. Jashwin, thank you for your time and good morning to you. Happy Human Rights Day to you. Thank you for spending it with us, informing us on issues around tax. But let's get into it. When we hear about, of course, the SARS organization renewing a focus on wealthy individuals. Could this lay more of a foundation on wealth tax in the country?
Good morning and happy Human Rights Day to all the listeners. So with regards to the wealth tax, something that we must note is it's not something new. The wealth tax has been on the cards for a number of years now. And just to do a quick recap, discussions on imposing the wealth tax have been rife for a number of years. And in the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen SARS and National Treasury team up. We've seen SARS and the eNCA team up. And based on this, it was the foreshadowing for the clamping down on higher net worth individuals nationwide and globally, actually. And what can be noted is that wealthy individuals generally do have more complex tax affairs, which in most cases does require the attention of a tax practitioner or tax attorney or some specialist in the field. However, what can be noted here is with regards to these complex tax affairs, as we know, in last year's budget speech, SARS announced the introduction of the high net worth individual unit, which we have seen in this year's budget speech, noting a significant improvement in the structure of focusing on non-compliance and the severity of that non-compliance when it comes to high net worth individuals. A point of concern here, however, is firstly, at the inception, SARS issued welcome notices to these high net worth individuals, assigning them a dedicated relationship manager from SARS's side, in order to assist in navigating the proposed complex structures from which these individuals' tax liabilities may arise. However, from a perspective of precedent, before the welcome notice was issued, another notice went out to taxpayers, and indiscriminately so. This notice was to request for full disclosure of offshore assets, including investments, property, and offshore bank accounts. When we contrast that to the recent statements in the budget speech, and I quote, provisional taxpayers with business interests are required to declare their assets based on their cost and liabilities in their tax returns each year. To assist with the detection of non-compliance or fraud, and this pertains specifically to assets and liabilities exceeding 50 million.
Right.
This shows that we have a very competent revenue authority that through the automatic exchange of information, as well as dual audits with other revenue authorities, has a keen focus on discovering this undeclared wealth of these high net worth individuals.
So let me talk about that. Let me just jump in there while you're speaking. Apologies for this, Jashwin. But let's talk about that severity that SARS speaks of when it comes to non-compliant wealthy taxpayers with assets overseas. How much of a challenge is it for the organization?
So from a perspective of SARS and what we've seen in practice is SARS now has an automatic exchange of information with around 150 other states, which reduces the challenges of discovering these offshore assets. But because of the severity and because of the indiscriminate treatment, we've actually taken this to the point of personally flying out to see these high net worth individuals and assisting them in structuring their tax affairs and assisting them with their tax planning, just to ensure that they are fully compliant on SARS's side. Because with the inception of the tax law amendment bill, SARS has now included both willful and negligent non-compliance, which means from a severity perspective, it could be something as simple as a mistake in forgetting, let's say, a property on a disclosure. And that's now become very sanctionable on SARS's side.
So with that being said, Jashwin, it seems there's more speculation, even from other experts, financial experts, tax experts, that the main factor driving this closer look into information regarding the assets and the wealth of these high net worth individuals is because, from at least government's perspective, that they would like to have a revenue model where they can fund additional social projects like your 350 Rand social relief grant. Is that the case? Is this part of the reason why government is issuing on this route, rather, with SARS and Treasury?
Yeah, look, personally, I like to call the high net worth individual unit the Robin Hood unit, because in essence, that's what they're aiming to do. And we've very much seen this where there are budget deficits, and SARS is trying to make any sort of plan to remedy this deficit, and quite effectively, I might add.
With that being said, I think what's also worrisome here, and please clarify for me if this is the case or not, it seems that high net worth individuals are not sticking around to be taxed. Jashwin, is that the case? Are we seeing more and more of these individuals almost, that number are declining in South Africa because partially perhaps for this reason around this wealth tax?
100%. I mean, in the last fiscal period, we've seen a 7% decline in ultra-high net worth individuals in South Africa. And that is simply because, from the perspective of the taxpayer feels that they've worked hard, they've accumulated this wealth, and now they are in essence being punished for being considered a high net worth individual. But this extends beyond your high net worth individuals that are in South Africa. No, it extends to your high net worth individuals that are offshore, but have any sort of interest in South Africa, be it a property that's being rented or an investment or whatever the case may be.
All right, well, we'll leave it there. I appreciate you speaking to us about this. Jashwin Baijoo, of course, South African legal manager from Tax Consulting South Africa, rather. That's the legal manager. They're talking to us about this wealth tax. Could it be that we're seeing that declining number, as Jashwin mentioned, because these high net worth individuals feel that they're being punished for their wealth? Well, of course, we'll continue to explore that discussion right here on eNCA. But with that being said,